What's up, everyone? We're gonna do a Canon RF 100 to 400 review, actually in a little bit different format. You can see I'm here in the backyard doing a little birding. I have it on the camera in R10, which is 24 megapixel, one of the cheaper cameras for the RF mount, APS-C sensor. So this is a super light lens. If you're a micro four thirds guy and maybe you wanted to switch to Canon, it could be possible now. It's a possible option because you guys know in the past Canon hasn't had the lightest lenses. They've had great lenses, but not the lightest lenses. And so this 100 to 400 is actually 22 ounces, which equates to about half the size of the Sigma 100 to 400. Oh, there's a blue jay. There's a blue jay. Yeah, it's an amazingly light lens. It's so light that, as I mentioned, micro four thirds size, you know, you're talking less than the Panasonic 100 to 400, which is about 2 pounds, and this comes in at 1.3 or 1.4 pounds. With the adapter, probably about 1.6 pounds. This will get you out with the adapter to 892 millimeters at f11, which I think a lot of people would be like, you know, they're gonna be saying f11, what the heck? But as I mentioned, the sensor technology now has gotten so much better that you can shoot an ISO 1600, 3200, 6400, and it's not necessarily an issue with getting you nice, good images in that. I have another video on that concept, because f11 seems to be where a lot of the Canon lenses are shooting. The more pedestrian, I should say, the consumer grade lenses are f11, but they're working, they're extremely sharp. And that's no different from this lens. This 100 400 is a sharp lens. Out of the box, it's an f8, but when you put the adapter on, it's an f11. But overall, contrast, sharpness, resolution, everything is there. I've compared it against the Panasonic 100 300, which I favor. That lens is one of the best buys. This has that feel. It's only, you know, maybe a quarter of a pound heavier than that 100 to 300 Panasonic, and you guys know how light that is. Fits the bill. Now the build quality is actually, you know, it's consumer based. It's plastic. It's not weather sealed. But again, that kind of comes with the weight. You know, if you're going to shed weight and make it very, very portable, this is the kind of stuff that you're going to have to put in a lens. So I can't say, you know, I've been very, very hard on Canon in the past for some of the things they've done, but this lens to me is their best buy, especially if you're looking at wildlife photography in all the mix of Fuji, Sony, Panasonic, or Nikon. They just don't have anything in this price range that will get you out there with this setup that works with that. So, you know, the adapter is expensive. It's probably $500. So you have a $500 lens, $500 adapter, but it's super small. This adapter works on the 600 f11 and the 800 f11, which would get you out there really far. And it actually works really well. I mean, you're not taking an image hit, because I've compared them on all these. The 100 to 400 f11 with the adapter against my Panasonic 100 to 300 is just as sharp, if not sharper, and has more resolution than the Panasonic. So you're not missing out on anything as far as if you're worried about that. Now, low light performance, you know how this guy goes. This is the sensors and the technology obviously have improved, but if you're doing something with super low light, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, I don't really post many photos. I don't think people post a whole lot of photos where it's ultra low light. They get the lighting down. You have to have decent lighting if you're going to pull off a shot, or the type of shot you want. So people are like, oh, you're going to suffer in low light. I'm like, well, kind of. But if it's really dark, even if you have the brightest lens or the sharpest and fastest lens, you're still going to have a dark image if it's anything comparable to what you're trying to represent or document. So I don't find it that big a deal. And it's a little bit, but what I'm able to do with this stuff, with this 100 to 400 with adapter, compared to, you know, years ago, let's say the D500 with the Sigma 150 to 600 mounted, this is a better setup than that. And that's like, that was an awesome setup at the time, but I can get lower shutter speed shots. So if I'm photographing something at 1/30th of a second, the image stabilization of this lens works, and it works very, very well. They say 5.5 stops. I believe it. It's hand holdable. Put it on a tripod. The nice thing about this is, what I love about this setup is much like the Micro Four Thirds, where some of the DSLRs and the Sony 200 to 600, it's just big to lug around in the field if you're not sure you're going to be photographing animals, you know. And even when you do, you raise it up, you draw a lot of attention to yourself in the wildlife spectrum, because it's such a doggone big lens, and it has that big blueprint of a big lens looking at you, where this is, man, this is just tiny. So yeah, we're gonna you know, wait for these birds to come down and do some good photography. Hopefully I'll have some stuff to show you. Let's get this on. Well guys, I think the birds have gone in for the morning. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Let me know if this type of review works for you, because actually this is the kind of review that I actually always wanted to do, kind of out in the field a little bit, actually doing it and explaining with you guys some of the things. Oh, they're still here. It's hard for me to shut it down. Yeah, so let me know if this kind of semi-review works for you, because this is kind of stuff that I like to do. Actually, it's more along the lines of being out in the field, actually using the equipment and giving you my impressions of how this stuff works, if it's any good. So what I see so far, the 100 to 400 with the 1.4 multiplier, I don't think you can go wrong. Price-wise, sharpness, everything. It's one of the best buys. And yeah, I'm gonna keep shooting here for a little bit. But thanks a lot, guys. Let me know, comments, questions below.